Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You'll get divorced. You'll get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Divorce Happens, the podcast where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter because, as you know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. And I'm super pumped today. We have Karen here, and she has a new book out that is going to be the go-to for all divorce-related things. I'm very, very excited. Karen, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because I was reading your bio, and quite honestly, it's far too long for me to read without having to stop to take a sip of my Diet Coke. So can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Thank you, Olivia. And I just love all that you're doing here on Divorce Happens and Fresh Start, and that we're really trying to normalize this thing that happens to 40 to 50% of families and really pulling divorce out of the cave of shame and isolation. I am a 15-year divorce survivor and thriver. And in many ways, I started the business and wrote the book that I was looking for 15 years ago. I didn't want to blow up my family. I was married to a really decent human. We just needed to get unmarried. Our compatibility factor or uncompatibility factor was kind of off the charts. And we were starting to become a high conflict household with young kids. And that I was not bringing the best version of myself to the marriage or my parenthood. And that is when I really started to see divorce not as a weapon, which I think is a big mistake we make and part of the narrative that we've all agreed to in this culture, but divorce is a tool of transformation. And after, 25 years, I've been a business consultant helping work not suck, basically, human behavior and relationship dynamics in the workplace as the pandemic kind of gave us all this miraculous pause. That's when I came to divorce coaching. I was already doing mediation in the workplace, became a certified divorce coach, co-parent specialist, parenting expert, crucial conversations trainer, all the things in my goodie bag, where now through the Good Divorce Academy, I help guide others together and separately towards their own good divorce. And then just recently, hot off the presses here in May of 2026, I was asked to write the book, The Good Divorce: How to End Your Marriage Without Ending Your Family.
Yes. So I want to bring up, I got the chance to take a look at this before the book came out, which is my favorite job that I have. There's so many things that I want to talk about with the book. But before I get into my little minutia, things that, by the way, are only things that probably make me really excited, and people listening are going to be like, wow, that's the thing that made you excited. Take us through, what is this book about, Karen?
It's a kind of a three-legged stool. The first leg is memoir. It's the story of us coming through our marriage and our love story. I start the book by reflecting on our courtship. And it's a reminder to all of us that most divorces did start with a love story. If we go back, and just because the divorce happens, that doesn't eclipse where it began, and that we don't have to dismiss as though none of that mattered. And then it walks through our decision, how to tell our kids, how to tell our families, the community, the grief, the loneliness, the disorientation of reinvention that I went through. So it's really those early years of our divorce experience. That's the memoir part. There's a little bit of kind of Dear Diary, if you will, personal reflections woven throughout. Part 3 of that book, or part 2 of the 3, is the how-to. In my time as a divorce consultant, as well as a co-parenting expert, how We can talk to our kids how we manage logistics. I will say the book is not necessarily about how to legally get divorced. That is not my emphasis. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to give anyone legal advice. It's about how to be divorced. And that's the long shadow, the long tail of divorce that stays with us forever. If
Yeah.
your DNA is intertwined with the person you married, that means there's going to be graduations and grandbabies and all sorts of other things. So, how do we preserve that and protect the future of our children? So, you're going to find the good guide throughout the book that has some really practical, usable tools immediately. And the third and final leg of the book is a call to action for all of us to disrupt the divorce industrial complex. It's so much of the work that you, Olivia, and your colleagues are doing through Fresh
Mm.
Start and recognizing that we don't have to hand our divorce over to attorneys who are financially incentivized by high conflict and long lasting dispute. We can design our divorce. And so I talk about some of the divorce penalties and policies that exist that don't support people going through divorce, the shame and isolation. And honestly, what was a $13 billion industry in 2024 needs to be disrupted. And I love meeting pioneers like you, Olivia, who are out there disrupting right alongside me. So
Yes, you
you get
can't.
memoir, how to, call to action.
I was gonna say you can't see the little cheering squad in my head, but it's going, "Yes, yes." You exactly. All of what Karen just said. I I was sitting here taking notes for today's recording and got so carried away with your memoir that I was late to another recording. So thank you, Karen. Because it is just so beautifully written. And
Thank
first of
you.
all, divorce is a tool. I'm so jealous that you coined that phrase because that is brilliant and it's so true. And you do exactly what we've done here, which is like this complete reframe, right? Like you said, if 40 to 50% of families go through this, why are we not talking about it? Why is there shame? It's just another life transition. And I really love that you have your love story in this
Mm,
because that is part of everybody's divorce story too.
mm.
And that will bring me to one of my questions for you. But I want to jump into my analysis here, Karen. So, who did you dedicate this book to, Karen?
The book is dedicated to the children of divorce, past, present, and future. We can do better. And the book is dedicated to my children, my two children, and their daddo,
Their
who have
dad, yeah.
grown with me through divorce. It makes my heart soft just thinking about that. But we've been in it together. And I will be very clear, a good divorce does not mean an easy. I'm not saying it's easy and it's rainbows and sunshine. It's hard, it's grief, it's relief, it's complex. It is one of the most difficult things that we will navigate as an adult. And we know that through research. Second, most stressful event, second to loss of spouse. And yet, even in the Family Medical Leave Act, which supports people at work going through difficult things, divorce is not covered. So, yeah, it's dedicated to my first husband. There's only been one, and he's very much alive, and my children, and to all the children. Because when we do divorce well, we're doing it for our kiddos. And we just have to love our kids more than we dislike our co parent. And that's
Mm.
pretty easy for most of us to do.
Yeah, when I saw the dedication, I was like, "Ooh, she gets it." Like she is reframing this because I just love that. And it is so much about the both and, right? You can be both, grieve that the marriage didn't last and be grateful that you had children with this person. Or in a lot of cases, you can hate that person and be grateful that you, right, had children with them. So I just love that. And then it starts with your memoir, which is just so beautiful. And I love that you really set it up. It's almost cinematic. There's like really, you
Mm.
feel like you're walking through almost like a sitcom or like a movie. But what I really loved, and nobody else is going to care about this except for me, is that you put a mix CD in here that
Yeah.
David gave you, right?
Yeah.
There's a song on there that I've never seen anybody else love except for me, which is Lighthouse by James Taylor, which is one of my
Oh,
all-time favorite songs. And I'm a little bit I'm fascinated by James Taylor and Carly Simon's divorce and
yeah.
marriage. And so I have a lot of theories about the music between them that we will
Mm.
take off record, Karen, because there's some things I wanna dig into about their divorce. Maybe we can write about that.
I know. We should be interviewing them. And which
I
is
know.
why I started my podcast, The Good Divorce. And I said, I just want to interview divorced people who've had good experiences,
Right.
adult children of divorce who are thanking their parents
Yeah.
and their adult children. Like we only broadcast typically the crap.
Yep.
So people just think that's the default. That's the only thing possible. I'm like, no, I want to broadcast stories where you hear parents side by side laughing, crying, supporting and go,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's what
Yep.
it looks like. That's what it sounds like. Now I have a model to follow."
Yes, and I love that this book, and you're so honest about it, is not like you said, it's not the legal nitty-gritty how-to. This is how to, like, live a sustainable divorced life. As somebody that grew up in a family that was rampant with divorce, my parents were divorced and all of my grandparents were divorced.
Oh, Olivia.
Yeah,
Wow.
so we came from it was in a way great because it was normal for us, right? But I have a very different perspective, which I don't see many people except for you really talking about, which is like that divorce doesn't go away. And so I now have the interesting experience of I'm the eldest child and I have two sons and I am divorced and my parents are divorced. So they are divorcing um grandparents, right? And parents, and it's very interesting to now raise my kids in this environment. So I'm curious what the feedback has been working with people with this perspective that you're really helping them with this sustainable divorce journey.
Well, I'm also unique in my practice with clients because I often work with mom and dad together. And even a lot of divorce coaches and certainly attorneys, even in collaborative law, it's still we're on opposite sides of the table. And my hallmark is we're on the same side. That's what I'm trying to do. And when people come and have an intake and a discovery call with me, a lot of people are like, this isn't possible. I've never heard of this. And then as I explain what we're going to try to do together, they're like, oh, that sounds so much better than the alternative. And many times at what I call graduation day, we're going to go to divorce school together. That's the point of the
Mm,
Good Divorce Academy is we have a broken legal system, we have a social narrative that doesn't support us, and we do very little to educate people on how to be divorced, how to do this well. We teach people all sorts of things from how to drive a car to how to birth a baby, but we're not teaching people generally speaking how to do this. And I think if
mhm,
we give people education and tools, it is truly transformative. And I remember one moment I was working with a couple in California, and I found that one neutral attorney who was going to basically do the administrative part. We did the financials together. We wrote the parenting plan. And when I was bringing that attorney on board, he said, "Gosh, it doesn't sound like I'm going to make much money on this case." He said, "Not if I have anything to do with it."
mm,
And then on graduation day, when we were reviewing via Zoom all of the final documents, and the attorney was like, "This has been the most pleasant divorce that
mm,
I've ever navigated." And he used to be a litigating lawyer, and he's like, "I'm not doing it anymore. I am not going to
yeah,
go to court and keep tearing families apart." And the couple, they were lighthearted and they were laughing like, "Well, glad our divorce was such a good time for you."
mhm,
But the fact that they could come, and this often happens with an appreciation for, great, we're glad we got through this legal process. And we get to go on and continue to delight in the upbringing of our children. We
yeah,
can sit side by side um, at the Christmas concert and at the
yeah,
soccer game. And I just think, why would if we start with a not great marriage, the dysfunctional family, you're familiar. Why would we go spend, I mean, the average is 20 to 30,000 per person and 12 to
mhm,
18 months of our life to make a thing worse. That is a terrible business plan. Divorce doesn't exist to make it worse. It exists to make a not great thing better. So we need to help families to improve the function of the family. And we've just completely lost sight of that. And yeah, I say divorce is not a weapon. It's a tool of transformation. And when used well, then we can come out with more kindness and grace in our heart. And honestly, I do have so much more love and a softer heart towards the father of our children than in the very difficult days of a marriage that was based in we were incompatible and we didn't do our homework to know those things before we were married. And to be clear, Olivia, I'm pro marriage, I'm pro family. Fight for your marriage, get in counseling, do individual therapy, do couples therapy. But when we see the writing on the wall and that we're doing more damage, and we know that it's worse for kids to grow up and live in a high conflict household than across two homes, which is what we call ourselves. We don't even say we're a divorced family. We say we're a two-home family. We're a family. My kids have two homes. So that was a meandering answer.
No, that was a mic drop moment. I'm sitting here going, amen. That was amazing. I mean, that was everything that I believe about divorce just summed up in a minute. I'm going to clip that out and share it with everybody. That was really beautiful, Karen. So, what did you learn about yourself while you were writing this book?
Oh, what a rich question. And very few people ask me about the writing process. And I fancy myself a writer, and I have long thought there's a book inside of me. I didn't know it was going to be this one. And I guess a funny thing that I laugh at myself is, as it turns out, Olivia, writing is a very solitary activity.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's
And
very
that's not
different.
usually my jam. I'm
Yeah.
a people person, conversation together. So last summer, I ended up buying a camper van. And that became my writing studio. And my golden retriever, his name is Moab, as in Moab, Utah. He and I took to the road. And I had to leave my beautiful community, my family, my friends, because there's always a better offer than sitting alone in front of my computer, putting words together. So I learned that I'm not really a writer that every day from 2 to 4, I'm going to write. I like batches. I like to go away for 3 days, saturate. It's the only thing I'm thinking about. It's the only thing I'm doing. And I'm in my camper van and I'm in a forest. I'm on the beach. I'm in a fun little funky town where I don't know anyone. Um, so I learned how to be an extroverted connector to create an introverted creative space. And I come from the performing arts. I grew up on the stage as an actress and a dancer, and those are all very collaborative art forms. But the written word is a very solitary art form.
Yes. I appreciate that, and I relate to it so much because when we're writing a book right now, we're writing our book Divorce Happens, which is about like the identity shift that women go through after. And
Great.
I have built multiple businesses in my life with solo parenting 2 kids. And I was like, this is a piece of cake, right? I'm going to be fine writing a book. And I've built businesses. No, no, it's not the same thing at all. And I'm the same way. I need to have complete, like, I love that word, saturation, like in the work that you're doing. And I'm going to come along in your camper van next time because that sounds like a real fun adventure, by the way.
So
I
it's
love
such
that.
a good time.
I
Yep.
love that.
I'll also offer up that, there's probably 8 different versions of this book that flowed through me before the one that actually went to print. And once I got to my developmental editor, and I was really fortunate to have a traditional book publishing deal with Wiley Press and their subprint Josie Bass. And my editor, she said, it's very drafty, right?
Mhm.
And I kind of had to put it all on the page. There were stories that I wrote about my co-parent that were not terribly attractive. There were stories I wrote about my own parents' marriage, who I
Yeah.
always wished they would have gotten divorced. They're still alive, 85 and 88 years
Mm.
old, 65. This year will be 64 years of marriage.
Wow.
I'm not going to pretend to understand it, but there were a lot of things in the book. And I think particularly with memoir and personal story, we always have to ask ourselves, would the story still carry itself if this weren't in it? Could I take out this bit about my sister, evil Aunt Betty, the
Yeah.
neighbor next door, my spouse, my former spouse, and would stories still carry. So there was a big pivot where I took out a lot of, I'm just going to call it unsavory material,
Mm,
because it doesn't align with the brand of what I espouse all the time to my clients. In part, and you know this one, like, don't talk poorly about your co-parent in front of your kids.
mhm,
Well, not only is this book open to the world, it is in front of my kids. And I held my breath as they sat down to read it, and their father and the kids all had the
mm,
opportunity to read the book before it was published. And when my eldest daughter, who's a journalism major, so she is a writer, and she just is like, "Mom, I'm so proud. I
mm,
love how you've represented our family. This is gonna help a lot of people." And their dad, like, "Congratulations. A lot of
mm.
families need this, and we have a lot to be proud of." We raised our kids from kindergarten to college across 2 homes, so we
Wow.
kinda did it all, and we still are, because they're
Yeah.
between the ages of 18 and 25, and that is still heavy duty
Yeah,
parenting.
Karen, I called both my parents who have they had been divorced for 20 years when I was going through my divorce. And, it's funny. I called them. There was an inciting incident that happened in my marriage. And then I called both my parents to say, I think my marriage is over. And I was raised by three people because my mom met my stepdad when I was 10. And so he's been just as much as a father as my biological
Yes,
father.
the bonus parents.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and he's the best grandpa in the world. When I called both my parents to tell them that my marriage was probably over, they both had the exact same response, which was go to counseling, immediately and see what's going on. And it was just so interesting because they've been friendly, but it took them a long time to get there. It took them
Yeah.
many years, and they're not the same people now, right, as grandparents. And I always like to remind people of that too. And your book does a beautiful job at this too. Like, it's a journey. Like, this is not the
Yes.
same person you're going to be in 20 years when your kids are older. So with that being said, what is something that you learned from your divorce that you were like really surprised by?
Well, I believe the gift of time, as you said, is an elixir of healing that can't be replaced by anything else. And this word friendly, Olivia, I always say that's the goal. We're not friends. We don't go to coffee. I mean, some divorced people find a friendship that's very legit. But David and I were friendly,
Mm,
and it's great that your parents are friendly. I think it's more about do no more harm. It's the absence of harm. It's absence of high conflict and poking around. So in my divorce, I really learned that if you can avoid doing harm and then give it time. But I also realized we're in charge of the gas pedal and the brakes. There's a lot of choice that you have. What story you keep telling yourself? What are you holding on to? And a friend, probably a year or two in, when we're still really like wounded and raw, and I'm on a dog walk with her, and I'm, "Ah, rah, 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 and then he did this, and
mhm.
I never, and I'm sure the kids are eating Fruit Loops every day," right? The things that we are
Yeah.
battling. And she just turned and she said, "Karen, it just sounds like you are taking the poison every day and hoping he dies. Stop it." And realize that my healing, and it's really where I end the book, is recognizing my good divorce actually has nothing to do with him. I mean, it's great if you have a reasonable, sensible, kind, loving person, as I did, and a really active, capable co parent. But in terms of how I see the world, see myself, my own recovery, that is mine and mine alone. And what I allow to bring kind of the poison of the day, and there is a time we have to grieve. We have to go through the anger. We have to go through all those stages. And I think we really underestimate that there is a lot of death happening here. I learned how important my community was. And at the same time, and I'm working on an essay right now that's called "My Husband Didn't Die."
Yeah.
Because if he had died, I would have had a food train.
Yep.
I would have had an invitation for every holiday that first year. People would have been checking in with me. They would have known how to support me in the grief of a physical death. But as you know, Olivia, my marriage died. My family as I knew it died. My identity as a wife and partner died. My full-time job as a mama died. Part of my community connections died. There is so much loss and grief. And those of us who've gone through it know that. But as a society, we have still not elevated the importance of ritual and witnessing for families navigating divorce.
Yeah. Yeah. You said it better than I could ever say it myself. And this is something I think about all of the time because yes, that's exactly why we need ritual and why, that is an important marker in life for
Mhm.
the family and for you. And I love that you said that about, we own our divorce. I would say the same. And I have no relationship with my co-parent. And I still
Yeah.
think that I have had a great outcome, I will say, because I healed and I got to where I'm supposed to be, right? I always say divorce was the plan all along. I just didn't know it, right? And
Yep.
so I just love that so much. The work you're doing is life-changing and it's more than that. It is generationally changing families. And
And we're doing it also,
well,
right? I
thank you.
talk
Yeah.
about the compost pile.
Yep.
Right, we take these things that have gone sour or no longer
Yep.
serving us, and you took being a child of divorce, going through your own divorce,
Yep.
and put it into the compost pile and have now writing a book, and you've built a business and resources and a podcast so that we can support others. That is the regeneration of taking the crap, put it in the compost pile, and
Yeah.
it becomes fertilizer for our
Yeah.
new garden.
I love that. And I think that you are somebody, having talked to you and read a lot about you, who just knew there could be a better way, right? This
Yes.
doesn't have to be this way. And I'm sure that you take that into everything that you've done, your parenting, your friendships, your business, because you're not going to stand for something if it doesn't work in a way that brings people peace and joy. And this book is absolutely going to bring people peace and joy. And
Oh,
I
thank you.
can tell you, and I'm going to try to say this without crying, that if I was myself at 10, 11 years old and going through my parents' divorce and had walked into a bookstore and seen this book, I would have felt like, "Oh, this is gonna be okay. Like, I'm gonna give this to my parents and make them read it." And there is such a thing as a good divorce. Like, it doesn't have to be this traumatic, huge thing, right? And I just love that, and I'm so, so glad that this book is in the world and the work you're doing is available. So, where can people buy this very important book?
Thank you, Olivia. That just means so much, and I really am out to make a difference. Not a
Yeah, you can
dollars. We
tell.
don't
You can
make
tell.
dollars
Oh,
off
no,
the
no,
book.
there's no money except for the other
It
people in the divorce industry. No. Yeah,
it
yes.
is about making a difference, and, you can the best way is just to Google thegooddivorcecoach.com. That'll take you to my website, and there's a banner there for book, and you can read a little bit more about the book. You can see an outline of all the titles. You can read the prologue, see if it's really for you, and then there's several links there to Books A Million, Barnes& and Noble, Bookshop, and Amazon, of course.
Amazing.
You can find it there. And I just want to give a shout out to those of you who are divorce curious. Of course, this book is appropriate for you. Those of you in the middle of it, even if you're like, it's too late to turn the tide. Nope, it's never too late to have a good divorce.
Mm,
And for those of you that are divorce adjacent, you are the grandparents. You are the parents of your child who's divorced. You are the adult children who still want to hand this book over to your friends. You are a manager who oversees employees navigating this, or the friend or the neighbor. It is a book that pulls back the curtain. Again, not how to get divorced, but how to understand divorce and become an ambassador of this message. I'm asking you all to join Olivia and I as soldiers as we disrupt the divorce industrial complex as we know it. And the more people who know that there's a different path, then we start to take over the messaging and the narrative. So please join Olivia and I, join Fresh Start and the Good Divorce Academy, and help us all make a difference on behalf of the people that we love, even if
mhm.
we're not the one who's divorced.
Yeah, what Karen said. Just listen to what Karen said. Before we let you go, Karen, if somebody's listening to this and they're considering divorce, navigating divorce, you are certainly the expert in this. What would be some words of encouragement that you could leave them with today?
I want to leave you with two things, a beginning and an ending. Don't stay too long. It's one of the biggest mistakes we make. And we're so bad at breakups in all parts of our life with friends and jobs and bad haircuts. Like we just stay too long. And the longer we stay knowing our truth, the more damage that gets done, to the point where now we're already so angry and hostile. It's really hard to get ourselves to the same side of the conversation and a good divorce. So find your way to an elegant exit. And on the back end, I would remind you that everything will be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. You'll
I
get
love
there.
that. I love that. The elegant exit. Oh my gosh. Well, we're going to have an elegant exit here. Karen, you are truly amazing. Thank you for putting this book into the world. I will put all the links to everything, Karen. Do you still coach, Karen?
I do.
Okay,
Yep.
so if somebody's listening to this and they would like to work with you, we will put the links in the show notes also.
They'll find me on the website. And I
Awesome.
work with couples and I work with individuals. And I give everyone a free discovery call. So if you're curious, I'm a safe place to just have a conversation.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Karen, and congratulations on the book.
Thanks, Olivia.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.